ahead, please. Yes. This is good news, skeleton dog. Last 2 chapters.
Venga, vamos.
Venga, vámonos. This chapter is called Ayahuasca. After more than 100 regressions, I noticed that the visions I was being told sounded very similar to the visions that visitors had described to me when they were under the influence of ayahuasca. I started researching and found information about an ingredient contained in the botanical blend of ayahuasca, of the ayahuasca tea, that opens the barrier between the conscious and subconscious. This ingredient is called DMT. DMT.
Sí, ya vale.
Is the scientific name. There is a protection in our stomach, a few enzymes that prevent the DMT from getting into the brain. The enzymes destroy the DMT. It seems incredible that the jungle dwellers figured out to add another plant to the tea mixture that immediately produces vomiting and thus removes the enzymes from the stomach, and so some of the DMT can get into the brain. Our body produces its own DMT, which is only released under special circumstances. They say at the moment of dying, but I don't know. Hard to
We will find out.
I don't know.
Soon.
Oh, you have still a long time. But in trance, DMT is released and the filter opens here too. However, the process is very controllable during hypnosis. Whenever the patient feels uncomfortable, one can immediately exit the vision, move on to another vision, or end the session. Things are different with ayahuasca. For 5 or 6 hours, you will be out of control and will see all the visions whether you want to or not. The process is safe, but can be drastic. However, ayahuasca has enormous healing effects. If the person's suffering was provoked by the subconscious, it is possible that the illness, however severe it may seem, will recede immediately after the ceremony. I suggested to Martin and Nicholas to go to Peru to take part in the ayahuasca ceremonies. The flight from Lima to Iquitos alone was an adventure. It was cloudy, fog everywhere. You can only reach Iquitos, is that how you say it? Iquitos? Iquitos. By plane or by boat on the Amazon. Martin was sitting at the window when the first houses appeared from the fog. But suddenly the pilot took off again and said, "Oh, that wasn't the airport. We'll try again." Okay. But the second time it wasn't the airport either, and the pilot decided to fly back to Lima. 2 hours of flight and another attempt the next day. Finally, they reached their destination. Maybe they weren't supposed to get there that day. For Martin, the whole experience was unpleasant and he would never do it again. Nicholas, however, was thrilled and is waiting to have the time to live with the healer in the jungle for 3 months. Well, he will only if he has the time, he just needs to make it. No?
He could, but he will not.
Martin is a person who finds it difficult to tolerate when he cannot control a situation, whereas Nicholas is someone who feels and enjoys life. One of our acquaintances, Lorena, a woman from Argentina, was diagnosed with breast cancer in the hospital. She lived with her companion in the neighboring village. Frightened, she called me and asked for help. She underwent surgery and her fears were confirmed. It really was cancer. Lorena was unwilling to undergo the treatments offered to her at the hospital. I suggested she take ayahuasca in Peru. It might help, and anyway, you won't die in the next 2 months. If ayahuasca doesn't help, you can still go to the hospital. Her partner totally disagreed with the plan, but she absolutely refused to go to the hospital. This led the two of them to separation, and Lorena came to live with us for the time being. But there was still a problem. She didn't have the money to pay for this trip. I didn't have it either, but promised her I would find the money. So our friend Rosanna had to serve again. She was also friends with Lorena. I invited Rosanna to my house and asked her if she would be willing to pay for this trip for her friend. But Rosanna explained that she didn't have that much money. I looked at her seriously and said, "Are you willing to watch your friend die in front of you without helping her?" "I can't. I don't have that money at the moment," she replied. "Do you want me to tell you how much money is in your account? You have 70,000 euros there." She began to cry and agreed to finance the trip. And not only that, she also wanted to fly to Iquitos to take part in the ceremonies. So the same thing, the 70,000, just the number just came up in your mind, no? I mean, it's like...
No.
I had chosen a healer who would accommodate the participants in his own house and then occasionally take them on a trip into the jungle. I had seen this man, Don Juan, in a documentary. He lived in Iquitos with his wife, children, and some grandchildren. It seemed like the right place for a single woman. The documentary showed how he, within 10 days, healed a man who was suffering from cancer, a woman with very advanced arthritis, osteoarthritis, a young man with extreme skin problems, and a young woman who was suffering psychologically. Rosanna wanted to travel with Lorena, but I suggested to Lorena that she go alone first, and that's how it was done. Lorena spent 3 weeks alone with the healer and his family, and then Rosanna came to stay there for another 4 weeks. During this time, I had contact with Don Juan, the healer, several times. Lorena called once a week to share her adventure with us. Once she talked about the last ceremony they had held. This one was far stronger and more impressive than all the previous ones. The next day she called again to tell me that both the healer and his helper had asked her to call me, the man in Spain, and convey their thanks. Both had seen me in the last ceremony and said that I had helped them heal Lorena. No wonder you feel tired in the morning, where you keep on going.
I tell you, I cannot sleep. I never sleep. No way. Somewhere.
Lorena and Rosanna returned. Lorena gave me a gift from the healer, an amulet with a piece of ayahuasca vine wood inside. He had received this amulet as a gift from his master, hanging right there. Rosanna returned in very good spirits. The trip had been good for her. Lorena said she didn't want to go to the hospital anymore. She had no desire to put herself in the hands of the doctors again. She felt comfortable. Lorena then stayed with us for another year and then, on my advice, returned to her homeland in Argentina. She lives there now and is in the process of opening a massage studio in her mother's house.
Good.
Good. Last chapter.
Ta-da.
Ta-da!
Ta-da.
Drum roll?
Huh?
Drum roll?
No drum here, no, nothing.
Only your hands. And yes. A few final words. This is where my story ends for now about the adventures and strange things I have experienced in my life. I have experienced all of...
If I write my next book, that's not only over 30 years old people can read that.
What are you trying to say?
No, the next book that Axel suggested to me I should write.
What is that?
About all the women I try to find.
Okay.
The contacts it's not for all the public.
So, I have experienced all of this, everything, personally. I didn't add anything, but yes, I kept quiet about most of the private matters. As I have described in this book, the healer Don Carlos has refused to take money from me for more than 30 years.
That's true or not? You have seen him?
Yes, it's true.
Okay.
When I started researching the art of dowsing, working with the pendulum, I found a manufacturer of these devices in Poland. It was said that it was a small family business that made the best pendulums in Europe. Martin and I looked for the website on the internet. Everything was in Polish. But there were photos, so I could choose what I needed. But there was no way to pay. So we called the owner and explained to her that we wanted to buy but couldn't pay. She asked us to tell her the products we wanted and also our address. She said they were working on a new website that would allow international shopping and shipping. After a while, we called again to ask for the name of the new website. The owner said, "The website isn't ready yet, but we have sent all the pendulums to you." These pendulums were worth around 150 euros and arrived here. We were never told how we could pay them. I have repeatedly asked visitors from Poland who spoke the same language to investigate in order to be able to pay my debts. There was never an answer. Oh, you were supposed to have them and that's it.
They shouldn't take the money from certain people. Like the medium in America, when I sent her the money on PayPal. And then I said, look, you have to accept it. If not, no. And then we asked for another person and she accepted the money immediately. But for my session, no.
In one of the hypnosis classes, we were introduced to a medium.
That's
a woman from California who, in trance, communicates with an 18th century doctor and gets answers to her questions from him. This medium offers email sessions. You write your problem by email and in trance state she tells the doctor, he answers and she sends the answer in an MP3 file. Such a session costs $30. I was very interested in trying this out, so I wrote her my question by email and paid with PayPal. After a few days I received the answer, which was very helpful. But after a week the money was still in my account. So I wrote to the medium and pointed out that if by chance she didn't know this, she had to accept the payment. After a month, the money was sent back to me. She hadn't accepted it. A few of my followers also had questions for this medium, and the payments were accepted the same day. In total, we asked 3 more times on behalf of different people. The money was always accepted immediately, and the answers were extremely useful.
My question, it was very nice with that, because you would receive, maybe there are 20 people asking a question, no? She goes into that trance state and is asking the 20 questions, and you receive all the answers from everyone, the question and the answer, because there's only the first name, so you don't know who we are talking about, no? It's still private, but it's very nice and useful, and you can learn a lot of things, no? So there was one woman, she said, yeah, my former husband, he passed away, John, and we had such a wonderful time, and he was the most wonderful person, and blah blah blah. But I'm now here alone, and I'm not sure if I should start a new relationship because of the relationship I had with John, and the first thing the doctor said, well, what I have to tell you is John is sitting next to me. And he is saying, well, I want to say thank you to you for that wonderful time we spent together. And of course, you are still there alone and go ahead, do whatever you feel you have to do. And then the woman said, yeah, I met a man and he invited me to go on some holidays. And the doctor said, what value you would give to John from 1 to 10, no? She said 10. And for that man you met now, maybe 6. And he said, yeah, so you should have that in mind. It's only a 6. Go on the holidays with him, but have in mind that's not the person for you. No, enjoy your time, it's fine, it's okay, but have that in mind. That is not the person for you. And my question was, if you could give me any advice to advance on the way, to see more, become more aware of things. And he said, yes, go to any crowded place and watch the people. And you will find out that you see the ego, the person, the body, the ego running around there in their bubble, and some meters behind, the soul, very sad, because it's completely abandoned and has to follow that body. You can learn to see that, and then you see how humanity is, in which state humanity is. Okay, go ahead.
In German, we use expressions like no inkling when we want to say that we don't know something. In Spanish or English, the expression not having an idea is more commonly used. An idea comes from logical thinking. An inkling or a hunch comes from the subconscious. It's probably impossible not to have an inkling. The subconscious knows all the answers. But if these cannot break through into our conscious mind and be translated into words or thoughts, we have no way of following these hunches. Hunches are what we call instinct in animals. But if these hunches are usually not logical, we often take them as nonsense or even bad for us. My daughter Marta asked me to drive her to Granada early in the morning to take her driving school test. It was still completely dark when we walked across the terrace. Our little dog was sleeping there. Marta, who hadn't seen him, stepped on his tail. The dog yelped loudly. The following thought occurred to me. If you are so blind as to step on this little dog, how can you pass your driving test? At the same moment, a second thought came. Don't say that to your daughter. She might get nervous and therefore fail the exam. So I said nothing, and we walked down the terrazzo
Now,
stairs.
when I tell that to people now, always when I come to the second thought, don't say that, because then everyone makes.
So I said nothing, and we walked down the terrazzo stairs to get into the car. But as I opened the door of the car, the first thought came back, and it was added, "Can you please convey this message to your daughter?" I looked at Marta and said, "If you are so blind as to step on this little dog, how can you pass this test?" Marta looked at my face and replied, "Oh, Papa, I forgot my glasses." She went back into the house, got her glasses, and passed the driving test. Without her glasses, she wouldn't have even been able to take the exam. The message seemed nonsense, but it wasn't intended for me. My job was only not to doubt it, not to try to understand it, but to pass on these words to my daughter. Marta understood this nonsense immediately. It's not for you. Finally, I would like to describe how we said goodbye to our loyal friend and companion Dogo, this little black puppy that we adopted many years ago in Sacromonte, the beautiful gypsy district of Granada. The small animal grew into a stately, large dog, not as huge as a Great Dane, but still an impressive dog. Unfortunately, after a few years, Dogo became ill. Gradually, he couldn't move his hind legs. He could move his hind legs only with considerable effort. The hip joints refused to perform their function. Eventually, Dogo couldn't make it up the stairs to my apartment. He had already fallen down the steps a few times. So we decided to let him sleep on the porch of our volunteers' beautiful wooden house. These volunteers, usually young women, walked the dog every day, and Dogo felt very comfortable with them. But the illness continued to progress, and the day came when Dogo no longer wanted to go for walks. It was just too tiring. It was impossible for him. I had decided that if the day would come that the dog did his business and then fell into it, I would have him put down. The day came. Lorena came and informed me of what had happened. I went downstairs, sat next to Dogo, and asked him to give me a sign to understand if he was tired, wanted to go to rest, or if he wanted to stay here with us until the last moment of his life. Dogo, make it clear to me, whatever. Would you like to stay, or better go? A few hours later, we were drinking coffee on our terrace. Mara, Lorena, Martin, and me. To reach the terrace, you have to climb a flight of stairs. Suddenly, Dogo appeared, stood in front of Lorena, and looked at her. "Maybe he wants to go for a little walk," said Lorena, and got the leash and collar. She had no idea about the conversation I had had with Dogo before. After about an hour, she came back and told me what had happened. We live on the edge of the village. The road leads from our house to the sports field, then in a curve to the cemetery, and later onto the main street. From the sports field, a narrow dirt path goes up the valley to the stream and then into the mountains. This dirt path is the one we always walk with our dogs. Lorena said, we went to the sports field as usual, but when I wanted to turn onto the dirt track, Dogo pulled me up the road to the cemetery. We've never gone there before. Dogo stopped in front of the cemetery and stared at the entrance gate of the cemetery for a long time. After that, he just wanted to go home. So the next day I called the vet to come to our house and put the dog down. I definitely didn't want Dogo to have to start his journey back home in the sterile atmosphere of the practice. I asked him again to give us a sign that what we were doing was right. I said to him, Dogo, as a sign that you agree with what we are doing, you will lick our hands. When the vet arrived, we put Dogo in a sunny spot at the edge of the pool. And while the vet prepared the injection, Dogo continuously licked Lorena, Martin, me, and the doctor's hands and slowly fell asleep. Rest in peace, Dogo, is written on his gravestone here in our garden. May the Supreme Source, the one and only, bless all of you.
Finished?
Finished.
No.
Ahoo. Quite the project, huh?
Okay.
So what will be our new adventure?
Spanish.
The same book we read in Spanish.
Yes, because many people come here and they don't know English.
It will be very exciting for me.
For them to hear us.
For them to hear me reading Spanish. It will be exciting for me.
So difficult, no?
Yeah, and then the conversation around it.
You always say sí,
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 Oh,
sí,
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 Effendi, sí, sí,
sí.
sí, sí. Yeah, that's it. It was wonderful.
Will be much better for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Bye bye.
Hasta la próxima.